In today's edition of Things You May Have Missed, Nick Pivetta is a Padre. In today's edition of Things I Missed, Ryne Nelson got a hit in the D-backs game on Sunday, an RBI too. The reason that's such a big deal is because Ryne Nelson isn't a hitter, he's a pitcher. He throws balls, he doesn't swing sticks. Pitchers haven't hit since 2021, which was the last year before the National League got the DH, other than Shohei Ohtani, of course, but he doesn't really count because, obviously. I covered the D-backs game and their big rally against the Cubs and fully missed that this happened. Even when watching the game, I missed it. I didn't realize how crazy this was. But the D-backs had lost their designated hitter. Arizona wasn't really doing much offensively, so manager Torey Lovullo put in Pavin Smith to hit for Garen Hampson, who was playing second base. The issue with that is Pavin Smith isn't a second baseman. He's like the furthest thing from a second baseman. He's a full-on lefty. So when the defense went back out there, he was going to have to leave the game, and Ketel Marte, who was DHing, would go to second, where he usually plays. By MLB rules, removing Marte from the designated hitter spot removes the designated hitter entirely for that team, meaning only a pitcher can hit in that spot now. I mean, in theory, the D-backs could have left Smith out there at second, but since he's a lefty, they weren't going to do that. Although I say they're cowards, they should have done that. It would have been wild. But anyway, since Marte was the DH and now he was moved to second, the DH is lost and a pitcher has to hit. And Lovullo called on for Ryne Nelson to be that guy. Why him of all the pitchers on the team? Because he's got a big no, I don't know. I guess he just figured he was the best option. Nelson played shortstop for 2 seasons in college years ago and has been telling Lovullo that he could hit if needed. Last year, there was a moment where another pitcher hit for the D-backs. I guess this happens a lot over there. Scott McCoe pinch hit last year and he struck out. Lovullo asked what Nelson would have done in that situation, and Nelson said he would have hit a missile somewhere. So it's like anytime Herbert sees Chris in Family Guy. Nelson's been licking his chops waiting for this moment, and by the time he went up to hit in this game, the D-backs had already come all the way back from a 4-run 8th inning deficit to take the lead. Nelson hadn't hit in a game since college in 2018. He goes up there and didn't hit a missile like he claimed he would last year, but it was just as good in the end. A base hit through the infield to bring home 1 run, with the second barely getting nailed at the plate. But with the throw going home, Nelson took second and then scored on an Alek Thomas single. So that was wild. A lot of people in the comments of yesterday's video were yelling at me that I missed this, and I was mad at myself that I did. So here we are. How wild is that though? A reliever who hadn't hit since college in 2018 gets a knock first time up at a big moment to drive in a run, almost 2 runs. And yes, it is crazy, but in a world where we just had Kanye West say he's the closest thing to God while wearing a black KKK outfit after claiming his support for Diddy, nothing shocks me anymore. The most outlandish things are normal now. If Ryne Nelson struck out yesterday, that would have been weird. Back to today's edition of Things You Might Have Missed. Nick Pivetta is a Padre. Not much has been said about him lately, even though he signed a $55 million contract with them. And he absolutely dealt in his first start for the Padres. Pivetta on any given day can either be the worst pitcher you've ever seen and give up like 7 home runs or a Cy Young candidate. Doesn't seem to be anything in between. And the Padres got Pivetta in this game. He threw 7 shutout innings and gave up just a single hit. The only hit the Braves had all game. In fact, the Padres pitching had the closest thing to a perfect game without a real perfect game. 27 Braves hitters went up to the plate. That's it. Well, not literally 27 different hitters. That would have been a lot. It was the same, 9 hitters and 1 pinch hitter. 1 walk, 1 hit is all the Braves did, and each of those base runners ended in double plays. Pitching masterclass, while the offense put up 5 runs to clean sweep the Braves to kick off the season. So damn, nothing's changed since last year's wildcard series, I guess. The Braves have lost 6 games in a row in San Diego, dating back to then. Morgan Wallen's better make some heartbreak love song on that. Speaking of love, you're not going to find any between Jonathan India and Emmanuel Clase after he smoked India in the face with this pitch. Just a hinge, I could be wrong, but I don't think Clase will be on the India Christmas card list. Cleveland whooped some ass to win the series in Kansas City. Kyle Manzardo went off in this series. He runs really funny too. It's not important. I just wanted to point that out. Time to go down in the trenches, the bloody war zone, also known as X, aka Twitter, where Jazz Chisholm took on a bunch of fans. Jazz is another player who's on fire to start the season, and the torpedo bats may be helping a bit. As of this video, he's hitting over 400 with 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, and 11 tweets in his first 3 games of the season, a record. So he has this explanation for the new torpedo bats that you just move the wood from the parts you don't use to the parts you do use, which to me that just doesn't seem like it should be legal. I know the Yankees aren't the only team using this. That doesn't seem like it should be legal, but I don't know. It is for right now, I guess. A Red Sox fan responds with, "You could have just said, I'm not good enough to get the barrel to the ball, so I moved the barrel." Jazz says, "Been hitting the barrel since I traded, wink, wink." He commented under Dave Portnoy's rant, calling him a high schooler before someone asked if he should be crying about locker room stuff. Jazz says he plays for the Yankees, so it's not an issue. Here comes Big Titty Cards to chime in. It's all fun and games till she pulls up. Imagine showing this to someone in, I don't know, the 1930s or something. All of it. All of these tweets. Now, should Jazz feel the need to acknowledge haters? Should he be taking time out of his life to be arguing with Big Titty Cards on Twitter? No, but whatever, it's funny. We need more stuff like this anyway. It's entertaining. And these bats, those torpedo bats, again, they're not just being used by some Yankees players. Players across the league are using them, and they're just rising in demand. The Braves, apparently some of their hitters told the team to order a batch of them after seeing what the Yankees did over the weekend. And considering what they did over the weekend in comparison, yeah, they may as well try anything right now. People are upset I didn't really talk about the Cardinals, so I'm going to talk about the Cardinals. They do deserve their flowers, for sure. I mean, their offense has gone off to begin the year. They scored at least 5 runs in each of the first 3 games, 9 runs on Sunday. Meanwhile, the Twins are not twinning with the Cardinals, am I right? Carlos Correa has as many hits as women Elton John has slept with. The Twins average 2 runs a game in St. Louis, but it's the first 3 games. Who cares? It's a time to just look at the positives, where there aren't many. So let's go back to the Cardinals, who have kicked off 2025 with a ton of positives. It'd be wild if they were actually good this year after all this talk about how crappy they look. Those people might look really stupid this year if this keeps up. Not me. I'm not going to look stupid. I know I've said not a single bad thing about the Cardinals over the offseason.
Heresy!
Like and subscribe if you like this video, if you want, and thank you for watching.